You can find the gospel reading in the New Testament on page 90. But on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they came to the tomb, taking the spices that they had prepared. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they went in, they did not find the body. While they were perplexed about this, suddenly two men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. The women were terrified and bowed their faces to the ground. But the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified and on the third day rise again?" Then they remembered his words, and returning from the tomb, they told all this to the 11 and to all the rest. Now it was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the other women with them who told this to the apostles. But these words seemed to them an idle tale, and they did not believe them.
This first Holy Week with you, and because we have the wonderful cantata next week, which I know is going to be so moving and so inspiring from our great choir, I decided that instead of giving you a Palm Sunday sermon today, I'm going to give you an Easter Day sermon today. So I hope you understand that I just wanted to set us up for this coming week, thinking about the joyous good news of the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. Several years ago, the film industry started to feel some desperation over declining ticket sales, a trend which had been continuing for the past few years, but it had become progressively worse, and Hollywood, a corporation like any other corporation, was beginning to panic. Normally, in solving problems like this, industries will look for solutions, right? Solutions that will reverse the trend. Makes sense. But we're talking here about Hollywood, the one industry that has perfected the art of illusion. Hollywood's solution to their declining ticket sales was simple. They declared Thursday as the new Friday and rolled the Thursday ticket sales into the weekend totals. They literally redefined what the weekend meant. Now, of course, that did not reverse at all the numbers. Didn't reverse them at all, as we would expect. But it did make the numbers look better. And since most films increased their sales by buzz, by word of mouth, Hollywood's hope was that the higher numbers of sales would increase that buzz for a particular film. It's illogical, and it didn't work. But they're still rolling Thursday's take into the weekend. Now Hollywood, I'm picking on Hollywood, but that's not the only industry that makes these kind of existential changes in the hope of creating a new reality. You might have been reading articles, magazines these past few years that have made a declaration, especially in regards to age, that 60 is the new 40. Yeah. Now, what does that mean? Comedian Lewis Black's response to this phrase is both an explanation and a critique. Quote, "My generation is afraid of getting old. They're always saying 60 is the new 40. No, it's not. 60 is 60 and 40 is 40. That's why they're different numbers. And 40 isn't the new 20, and 20 isn't the new embryo." I agree with who was black. Although there are many times, especially after a very long day, that I fervently wish 60 was the new 40. But as hard as I try, my physical body just will not let me get away with that. My wife tells me, Amy tells me, that in the world of fashion, every year a different color is declared the new black. Pastel is the new black. Orange is the new black. Black being the foundational color theme that influences designers. Just this past week, I read an article about education declaring that college is the new high school. I think, tell me if I'm wrong, that if you ask a college student or a high school student, or more importantly, the parents of a college student, ask them if college is the new high school, and they may just disagree with you. I didn't come out of high school thousands of dollars in debt. It is only the arrogance of our human nature that makes us think that just by declaring that something is so, it is so. Today there is a growing atheist movement declaring, sometimes hysterically, that there is no God. Say it with absolute certainty. And hearing those words always kind of makes me laugh when I think about it. We have barely gotten off this planet, only as far as a few visits to the moon. About 150 years ago, and in the scheme of things, that's not a long time, we didn't even have indoor plumbing. And some places in the world still don't. Yet we believe, at least some believe, that they know enough about the universe to reach such an absolute conclusion about God's existence. The recent discoveries in deep space observation by the Hubble telescope, some of which are puzzling scientists and physicists, only increases the mystery of creation rather than solving the question of God's existence. We haven't even begun to think this one out. I don't think you can think it out anyway. I think you gotta believe. If that is true, what gives us the right this morning, us, here in this church, the right to not only declare that there is a God, but this God loves us so much that God came to us as Jesus Christ, who was judged and crucified and rose again. That's a pretty big statement to make. Well, much like science, we partly base this declaration on observation, on people who were there that first Easter and in the days that followed. People who said, we saw this happen. We saw the risen Christ. But let's acknowledge that it has to be more than just the observations of people who lived 2,000 years ago to convince us that the story is true. In those days, there were many religions, there were many myths, many messiahs, and many supposed resurrections. Yet, this one story, one we have shared, has done more to change the world, to change humanity, than any story ever told. Think about this. Listen to this statistic. It's astonishing. By the end of the first century, about 70-something years after Jesus was crucified, there were 40 known Christian churches, most of them in Asia Minor. And they were not large. They were small churches. Today, 20 centuries later, there are 300,000 Christian churches in the United States alone, with 67,000 Christian denominations around the world, and 50,000 new Christian congregations added to the world each year. It's remarkable. The only phenomenon that comes close to describing this kind of explosive and organized creation is, by the way, also found in the Bible, in the opening words. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Did you hear that? God said, "Let there be light," and boom, there was light. So often we get hung up on the details of the creation story instead of getting the point. And God said, and it was. Now we have all kinds of words in our language for creative actions that we humans perform every day. Lots of words. Illustration, manufacturing, design, writing, imagining. But there is no word in any language, and I look to see, for the kind of creation that we see in the first chapter of Genesis. And there's a reason for that. Because we can't do it. We cannot do what God did. In theology, we have a very fancy Latin term. Theology always comes up with terms for everything. So, creatio ex nihilo. Creation out of nothing. Which simply means that when God says that something is, or that something that was this, now is this, it's not a perception. It's not a trick of language. It is and becomes a reality. If God were to say, 60 is the new 40, not only would everyone who was 60 actually become 40, but the number 60 would now be the number 40. Now, of course, God would never say this, much to we in the 60 club, much to our disappointment. Why? Because it would be pointless. And we do not have a pointless God. We don't. God has a reason for doing everything that God does. And God did have a point on Easter morning, when, through the resurrection of Jesus Christ, God declared in so many words, "Hey everybody, death is the new life." Death is the new life. God's point should be pretty obvious and actually pretty easy for us to understand. It is at the very heart of the Easter celebration. It is at the very heart of our lives of faith and discipleship. To put it into the simplest of terms, God said this: "Since death has divided me from you, since the fear of death has caused you to fear me, I'm just going to get rid of it. Here is my son. Believe in him, and believe what he has shown you, that death is the new life." And oh, God would say, by the way, isn't it obvious why I'm doing this? If it's not, I'll tell you. Because I love you. Because I love you. Is it obvious to us that God loves us? Because if it is not, this morning, And this week and next Sunday is a complete waste of time. It's meaningless. In fact, life itself is a complete waste of time if we do not believe that we have the love of a Heavenly Father who not only made us, but loves what has been made. When Jesus walked among us, everybody tried to make him into something. Some tried to make him into a political leader. Remember that? Some tried to make him into their personal possession, a secret not to be shared with anyone. Some tried to make him into a magician, doer of tricks, magic. Some tried to make him into some divine fairy godparent who grants wishes. And you know what? We still try to make God into those things. We still try to make Jesus into those things. Others try to make Jesus into a myth, a fantasy of deluded minds. But in resurrecting from the dead, in overcoming the final word in human reality, Jesus made his point very clear. I have not risen in order for you to make me into something. I've risen to make you into a new reality, a new person, a person of faith, a person of love, a person of purpose. Think of it like this. Before that morning, a morning which we, with millions of others, will celebrate next Sunday, 2,000 years later, humanity was kind of like a pilot lost in the fog with nowhere to land. Humanity would desperately search for a light below or the stars above. But we would just circle endlessly in the fog of our own ignorance until, inevitably, we ran out of gas and crashed. It's kind of what death is. But on Easter Day, we received instructions, a direction, a vector, through words never heard before, and need I remind you, never heard since. 3 words. He is risen. Those words have never been spoken since, except in regards to Jesus Christ. And then at last, we had a way through the fog and a place to safely land. At last, life had a point. Life did not depend on one's number of years or one's possessions or power or status. Life couldn't be summarized anymore by that bumper sticker that I'm sure you've seen sometime or another. The one who dies with the most toys wins. The point of life was perfectly summarized from the one who changed death into life. This is my command, that you love one another as I have loved you. Where would we be if that day had not happened? Where would we be if God had not spoken, just as he did on the first day of creation, and said, "Behold my Son, my beloved, and see what I have created for you. Death is the new life." But it happened. The fog has lifted, and Jesus has risen. Life has a point. Anglican theologian and author N.T. Wright helps us to understand the point of the resurrection for us and for the world when he writes, The point of the resurrection is that the present bodily life is not valueless just because it will die. What you do with your body in the present matters because God has a great future in store for it. What you do in the present by painting and preaching and singing and sewing and praying and teaching, building hospitals, digging wells, campaigning for justice, writing poems, caring for the needy, loving your neighbor as yourself. These things will last into God's future. These activities are not simply ways of making the present life a little less beastly, a little more bearable. They are part of what we may call building for God's kingdom. And that's what we're doing in this new life. We are building for God's kingdom. This Holy Week, as we celebrate the resurrection of the Son of God, let us embrace the reality that Jesus' death is our new life. And in that new life, we are transformed. We are transformed from despair to joy, from resignation to hope, from indifference to action. Death truly is, really, existentially, the new life. And it is our life to live. Amen.